Breaking news, LA just got hit with an earthquake. How bad was it?
It was pretty big, man.
Like, how would you compare it to, I was out for, was it last year's? Like, they had the Kawhi signing, right? Like last July, about a year ago.
Weren't you here for 2 earthquakes?
Yeah, I've been out in LA for 2
It was bigger than those for last year.
It was bigger than those?
Yeah.
Man, I've never seen Eddie's eyes get so wide. He stood up and was like, yeah, that one was one of those quick hitters. Like, it rocked us for a second.
So it's what, 4:30 in the morning in L.A. What percentage of people sleeping do you think got woken up by that?
I just got a text from my brother, sister-in-law, and my wife.
Everybody's waking up.
Yeah.
All right. So is there a way you guys can't you search? Isn't there an immediate way to see what the epicenter?
Right now it says 4.5.
Oh, you guys are wusses. 4.5.
But
it must have been right under us.
Yeah, it's in San Fernando right here.
Okay, yeah.
That's why.
4.5.
4.5 is not huge when you're on the outskirts of it, but when it's right underneath
the epicenter.
view, yeah.
What did they have? Like a what was the one that hit last year? Like a 7?
No, that was a 5 something.
I thought it was like a 7.
And that was
like
in
a
like
6,
you're talking about the Ridgecrest one?
Yeah, that's
the
far away.
The one that hit wasn't in L.A.
No, it was in the mountains. So.
Yeah, that was 100 miles away from
yeah,
LA.
right. But I mean, that one really was pretty substantial in the shake. I mean, but this one was right underneath you guys.
Yeah, San Fernando.
Yeah,
this was the most shaking I think I've been a part of since I've moved here. It's like 20 years.
Oh wow! So I mean, and it's based on proximity though, because
Exactly.
4 or 5 is not that big of an earthquake. Hopefully, it wasn't a prelim for something bigger.
just got a text from Vito. He says, I was just about to get on the freeway. My car was shaking.
Yeah, usually that's one of those interesting things. Like a lot of people who are in cars driving, you don't necessarily feel it the same way. Like when both of them hit in LA last year, I was on like the 15th floor of a hotel. And that's where I've been in 3 earthquakes in California. All of them that I would call decent sized. I mean, where you're like, whoa.
The whole board was shaking here, and the monitors were all shaking.
Yeah, you guys are on the first floor at least. Being up top, being high up in a building,
yep.
And you can actually feel the building swaying because the way they build them to be able to kind of roll with the waves. That's pretty scary. Well, hopefully. For everybody waking up right now, hi, I'm Clay. Appreciate you guys being up in the middle of the night, for many of you listening to me, but on the West Coast anyway. But also, hopefully it's not a prelim to a more substantial earthquake, right? Because did we ever have the earthquake lady on?
I don't think so.
We requested the earthquake.
We did
right?
request her, yeah.
And she just gave us the Heisman?
I think so.
Yeah.
Because of the hours of the show.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, this is big time for her. And also, it's typical 2020 that we would have a massive, at least right underneath your feet, earthquake, even though it was only a 4.5. So there's some data points about how, the likelihood of other earthquakes based on that one that just took place. So hopefully you guys will be okay. Everybody's good.
We're good here, yeah.
Everybody's keeping rolling. Do we have Shannon on the phone?
We do. Shannon's ready to go.
Shannon, you're in Charlotte, so is the ground safe beneath your feet right now?
That was wild, man. Danny calls me, and all of a sudden he's like, whoa, we're having an earthquake. I'm like, what? That was wild.
Have you ever been in an earthquake?
One time I was out there for a NASCAR race in Fontana, and it was so slight that it sounded like something, like someone was moving furniture above me, and I realized I was on the top floor of the hotel. And then when I got to the track, somebody said, hey, did you feel that earthquake? And I was like, man, that's what it was. No, but I grew up in Florida, so we had the hurricanes.
Yep.
But obviously, hurricanes are coming. You have time to prepare for them. So I don't care what the magnitude of an earthquake is or was. I would be frightened. I would be frightened for the aftershocks too, right? Don't they say that those come?
Yeah, that often happens. I mean, I think if you're not from California, one of the first things you think when you start traveling to California is, there might be an earthquake there because you're not used to it. And so I've been in 3 of them, all decent sized. I was in San Diego for one, probably a decade ago. That one hit San Diego area was a pretty decent sized. And then I was in LA for both, I think, of the last 2 decent sized earthquakes that happened. And that was back That was back in July of last year, right, Danny G? Like that was when the night that Kawhi agreed to join the Clippers was the day. That was the day of the pretty big earthquake.
Yeah, well, Twitter's going crazy right now, so it was definitely big. People are saying that they just got woken up from their sleep. So Yeah, it seems like it was pretty big. Hope you guys are doing okay.
Yeah, they sound like they're fine.
Danny didn't even know what was going on. I'm like,
I mean, I was just the way
next?
you guys were reacting. I mean, to find out it's only a 4 or 5. I mean, I don't want to tell you to debap, but I mean, come on, like a 4 or 5. I mean, I don't. I feel like last year's like, again, it's based on proximity, but I feel like last year's was like a 7.
Yeah, and the fish was 2 feet big too, right, Clay?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So let's. What were you? The earthquake has taken everything out of whack here. What is going on in your life, Shannon?
Yeah. So I was looking forward to talking to you actually about school. What's going on with your kids' school?
Yeah. So it's a hybrid system here, and I don't even know how they've ended up reaching this goal. But for the first 2 weeks so they set up a chart based on the prevalence of the infection in the part of Nashville that we live in. And if it's like at 0.5 or above, it's a mixed, partial present, partially not present. So my kindergartner gets to go full-time to school. So kindergarten through 2nd grade, where we live in the Nashville area, everybody goes. So all kindergarten through 2nd graders starting in early August. And then everything from 3rd grade on up is actually not going in person for the first 2 weeks. So for my kids, I was most concerned about my kindergartner. So I'm glad he's going to go to school because he was so excited to get started at school. And I think the younger the kids are, the more difficult remote learning is. But the way they actually have a scale where you can look at it, and if it's under 0.5, everybody goes. And it looks like it's going to be under 0.5 very soon. So my hope is that after a couple of weeks, or maybe by Labor Day, all the kids around us are going to be in school. What about yours?
Yeah, so my kids are at private school, and here in North Carolina, it's interesting. So the private schools are going back full time, right?
Yep.
No restrictions. I think kids in 6th and older wear masks, but anyone below 5th does not. And and then the public schools and the charter schools are doing some kind of hybrid. See, my biggest concern is this, like what happens when someone in the school contracts it and then we get sent home and we're not prepared to do any kind of online learning, right? And then it's a fire drill to get things up and moving. And then is it more detrimental on the kids to start school full time and then have to come out if something like that happens? So I think my biggest thing is like, so what is the plan when and if, right? Because you know that the odds of someone contracting this at some point is pretty good, right? And then what happens then? So that's my biggest concern with them going back to school full time. But yeah, they're back in they're going to start. I guess August 17th is when our schools go back. So it'll be interesting to see how things go then.
Will you watch the NBA at all tonight?
Yeah, I'll watch it a little bit. I've been catching. I don't know if it's been practices or I think it's jarring to me when I've watched some of the fanless stuff.
Yeah.
How quiet it is inside those. It almost reminds me of like the summer league a little bit. I'll watch it just to see how it goes. Listen, I've been listening to your show all week, obviously, and following the stuff that's been going on. The Lou Williams thing, the Marlins player potentially.
What would you say?
Really
yeah, let's start with this.
I'd be ticked off. I would be mad, right? I've got friends that are in that bubble right now. They've been there.
Yeah.
My one girlfriend did 31 COVID-19 tests. 31 tests.
Yeah.
Now, if you're sticking something in my nose 31 times, now I don't know if that's the way they're still doing it, or if I'm not around my family, I'm missing my friends, and I'm there, and one of these players decides he wants to just go out, like I would be really mad.
Yeah.
I mean, and listen too, Clay, we're all waiting to see what happens with NFL, with college football, with everything. And just like with NASCAR, when NASCAR went back, everybody's watching to see how it's done, watching to see if it can be done. And so if you throw off the curve, like that's affecting everything in sports, right? So yeah, I'd be really ticked off if and I am, because this would affect me too, right? NFL, college, all of this stuff, it does all have an effect on where we move in terms of live sporting events.
If you found out your husband was at a strip club and he said, well, no, babe, I wasn't at the strip club. I went to buy chicken wings at the strip club. Your response would be what?
Listen, it just depends on what my marriage is like, I think, right? I think if my husband did it, I'd probably laugh because I probably would have known. But I would be mad that he left the bubble and was irresponsible Right? I mean, like you've just been in this bubble. You're leaving me for how long, and you're going to be over there, and this is what you decide to do, you know? And so that's what I think I would be upset about. But I mean, if my husband went to get chicken wings at a strip club, I'd probably be like, were they good?
What?
You know?
By the way, have they told you guys anything about with the NFL players starting to get back? Have you guys had any meetings about what covering the NFL might be like, or is everything just on pause as they figure out everything?
I think everything is so rapidly changing, right? I mean, I'm just waiting to hear, and I don't know if it would be. I mean, listen. So Fox Sports, we obviously had pit reporters at NASCAR events.
Yep.
So we sent people to the NASCAR events. We sent pit reporters to the NASCAR event. So I think it would be. I mean, it's either a Fox Sports decision or it's an NFL decision to see if sideline reporters or if reporters or how many people can be on the field, like essential people, right? And so I think we're all just on standby to see what happens. We're on standby to see what the NFL season is going to look like, who's going to play. I just read that like the Detroit Lions, their COVID-19 handbook is like bigger than their playbook in terms of what they should avoid and what they should do. So I'm fully prepared to get down there. I'm fully prepared to get tested. I'm fully prepared to walk the walk and do what I need to do to keep myself safe and my kids safe, obviously. So again, all of us are watching the NBA. All of us are watching Major League Baseball. All of us are watching these things to see how these other organizations are doing it and getting back to normal. So that makes me mad to hear that the players have left and aren't just taking this as serious as we all are.
Shannon, I appreciate the time. The earthquake, literally, you made the world rock as you were online getting ready to talk with us. We will talk to you next week. I appreciate you getting up early and enjoy the sports all rolling back this weekend.
All right, be safe, guys.
Yep, that is Shannon Spake.